So today I'm be doing a review for the Netflix original movie, The Open House. If you guys haven't heard about this, I'm surprised. I feel like everybody in the HorrorTube community has been talking about this film, and so yeah, I decided to jump on the bandwagon and watch it and do a review of this. So again, if you haven't heard about it, it is about a son and mother who end up staying in this like giant mansion in the middle of nowhere, who's owned by like the aunt, the mother's sister. And the big catch to it, however, is that the aunt is trying to sell the place, so they have to basically be out of the house on Sundays while there is an open house. So yeah, that's basically the premise of the movie. Spoiler alert, I will get into spoilers in this review. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want anything spoiled, I'd suggest you go watch it and then come back and watch this review and see if we have the same feelings about it. So I will say the timeline for this movie was a little off. The aunt says that, you know, you have to be out on Sundays, but it feels like maybe it was more than just on Sundays, but I'm not sure. Or if they just showed Sundays, there's no real time stamps, you know, throughout it. No, like, oh, we're in this week or whatever. Like, there's no real feel for how long they've been staying there. That bit was kind of annoying. That the timeline, there really wasn't much of one. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys can hear noise in the background. My cat's like playing in the bathtub. I don't know, she's weird. So apologize. Most background noise will always be a pet of some sort. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into the spoilery stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get into some of the stuff that I didn't really like about the film for this. The reason why they have to move into the aunt's giant mansion is because the father dies. He gets hit by a car in a parking lot within like the first few minutes. And I kind of felt like it was a little weak. I will say though, I thought they were into like Spider-Man it and have him get like shot in a robbery in the store because they like go to the store to get milk, and yeah, it was just kind of weak. It's like, really, like, you have to leave to go to the store to get milk like late at night. It's just weird. And yeah, I don't know, I felt like for a horror film maybe it could have been a little bit more intense, though there were parts where the son has like flashbacks to it, so you kind of get to see it a little bit more, which I felt redeemed it a little bit and made it a little bit better. And also then when they're at the funeral for the father, you overhear people at the funeral talking about how like the driver had a heart attack, and I just felt like that was kind of unnecessary add-in. Like, he could have just gotten hit. And also, why would you talk about that at someone's funeral? Like, why would you be like, oh, that poor driver who had a heart attack and killed this person? Like, you're at the person's funeral. Like, that's not what you should be talking about. That kind of annoyed me, but those are just, like, little details that are in there that kind of annoyed me. So yeah, that's just like the first few minutes of the film, is the accident, and then there's a funeral, and then they basically move into this place. And I guess another thing that also kind of bothered me is, so the mom like is out of work, and they don't really talk, like they talk about it, but they don't really give you much of a backstory as to like why she doesn't have a job, and that they have to move to this place, and also like why wouldn't they have money like saved up, which they do kind of go into a little bit, but like there's this big fight scene between the two of them, and he's like, you're the reason, you know, we're up here or whatever, and she's like, no, your father is the reason that we're up here, like basically saying that like he is the reason that they're broke, but they don't go into that at all either. It's just like, clearly he did something, but you never find out really like why or what happened exactly. So that was like, there's just a lot of like little other story plot stuff that's thrown in here that they don't actually go into. So you're just left with like, okay, I have these facts, but nothing connects and I don't really know what's going on as to why these people are in this position in the first place. All that backstory stuff was kind of weak, and that's the weird thing about the film, is that most of throughout it's not really like horror scary. It's more of like a thriller basically, or suspenseful. A couple weird stuff happens here and there, but nothing super like horror, terrifying, scary till the last few seconds of the film, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And so it's, you know, most of the film is these backstories, but they just keep like telling you facts and then ending it and not like continuing or telling you the full story, and it's a little bit frustrating. One thing that I also thought was kind of unnecessary attempts to make it a bit like spooky, scary, is the basement has like these kind of hidden tunnels that are like brick wall, and it's very weird. Like, it doesn't make sense as to like why they would have that. It doesn't really seem to lead anywhere, so it's like it added to be like, ooh, somebody could be hiding in there, and it's just like it doesn't really make sense. Again, it just felt like an unnecessary add-in to try to, I don't know, add more creepy options into the film, and it's like, you don't really need to have those to make like an invasion film work. Like, this house is already huge. I don't really know why you need tunnels in the basement, but okay. Though, I mean, it does play into the film later on, the tunnels do, but it still could have worked without it. So, again, get into all the ending stuff later. Also, when they are going to the cabin, when they're going to this giant mansion house, they spend basically all night driving to this place. They don't get there until the morning. They like fall asleep, and then they just have to be up the next morning and out. And I'm like, okay, why would you spend all night to drive to this place if you're just gonna have to leave the next morning? Like, why wouldn't you just go up later? Or go, like, leave that morning, so that way by the time you get there, you be there by the time the open house ends. It just doesn't make sense to drive all night just to have to leave the place, like, basically a couple hours after you get there. It's just, who would do that? Again, to try and add scary suspense to the film of them driving at night, even though nothing happens, really. Like, there's one thing, but it's really nothing. Like, nothing really happens. It's just stupidity. So, that made no sense to me. Why you would do that. Another factor was the overuse of kind of the creepy music. They definitely like played it up a lot. There's a lot of scenes where it gets very loud and kind of high pitch. So as a warning, if that kind of stuff annoys you, or, you know, is any sort of sensory thing, because I totally get sensory sensitivity. It's a whole nother story. But it was just like, it would get really, really, really loud. And I remember this one scene where it's like really high pitched, and it's very unnecessary. You don't need to be that aggressive with your creepy music. and they used it so much in this film, and that was just definitely really over the top and just made it a bit cheesy. It's like you don't have you don't have to use creepy music to make a horror film scary, and if you do, then maybe realize that your movie's not scary. Yeah. Like, if you have to back it up by using too much music, it's like, yeah. Y'all get what I mean. Another thing is, I will say, about halfway through, I thought maybe I knew what it was. So throughout the most of the film, it's just weird stuff happening. Things being moved. The son can't find his phone. His cereal bowl somehow between the time of him he's upstairs and just kind of comes downstairs looking for his phone. His cereal bowl is moved, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. I don't see how someone could do that in the time that it took that person to walk from the room where his cereal bowl was to the room where it now is. But yeah, most of the film is just weird stuff like that, weird things moving. There's a part, every time the mom takes a shower, the water heater stops working and she has to go relight the pilot thingy. And that was another thing that annoyed me, is the way she showered in that way that nobody showers. She kept I don't know, standing facing the thing, the shower head, and kind of letting the water come down on her, and she was it was overly overly sexualized showering, they do in horror films. And it was just it was a weird thing. I was no, yeah, I know I'm not making sense, but if you watch it and you see how she showers, you'll be yeah, that's a weird way to shower. And just over sexualizing the shower scenes every time, and it's do we really but yeah, so that was another thing. So that was one of the other things that was happening. A picture of them ends up in the trash. So it was just, throughout the movie, it's a lot of little weird things. And then you have a big scene where the house gets broken into. The aunt calls them and is said somebody broke into the house. And they come back and there's creepy music playing and stuff. The table has been set and stuff arranged, and this phone propped up, and when it rings, they pick it up, and of course nobody's there. That was another thing that I thought was weird, is if and then they had to call the cops, which that's another thing that why wouldn't if the realtor is going to call the owners of the house, why wouldn't they also call the cops? Why would you go, hey, looks like someone broke into your house, there's some weird shit going on, and then the aunt just calls them to be looks like someone broke into the house. Why wouldn't the realtor have already called the police? That doesn't make sense to me. Clearly, I don't know if she didn't want to get in trouble, or didn't want the cops to think she was breaking in, or I just found it very weird, especially because it's if you're staying there, call the cops, and it seems that's kind of near a small town where most of the people know each other, so I feel the cops would be well, how do we know you're not the people breaking in? I don't know. It was just very weird. Why wouldn't the cops have already been called and been there, maybe at least waiting for this mom and son to come let them in or whatever. It was a lot of shit in this movie makes absolutely no sense. And that is another one of the things that really bothered me. So, because of all of this kind of weird stuff happening, I thought maybe it would take like a supernatural turn. And I honestly, about halfway through, because there's a scene where you see like kind of the outline of whoever this person is in the son's room, I thought maybe it was just gonna be the dad. Though I guess it technically doesn't make sense as to why he would be like wrinkling up their photo or doing like bad things. But none of the stuff other than the wrinkled photo was like that bad. It could have just been chalked up to like trying to get attention. So I don't know, I guess halfway through that's what I thought it was gonna be, but it was not, and I was wrong, which I'm pretty glad about, because I was like, that's gonna be lame if that's what it is. So on to the more spoilery stuff and talking about the ending. I know there are a lot of people that are pretty pissed about the way that this ended. Basically, it ends with no real solution. So if you haven't seen it and you don't mind the ending being spoiled, basically this person that has been tormenting them after the dinner thing, I think maybe it's that same night, or I can't remember exactly, but basically this person that's been like doing this weird stuff and tormenting them finally comes out. So they end up getting, and this is another thing that bothered me, they got this strange guy who they just ran into in town a couple of times to come like stay with them, to like watch the house, and which I thought was like very weird. Like they ran into this guy maybe 3 times. It's kind of gives off a weird vibe. I definitely knew it wasn't him. Like, he's the only black guy, only person of color. They weren't gonna turn him into the killer, or else like if they do, that's really fucked up. But yeah, I just still thought it was really weird. Why would you invite a stranger to come stay in your house when there's already creepy weird shit going on? But they do, and he gets killed. And then the son hears all this noise, so he goes outside to where like the car alarm is going off, sees the dead body, then gets like knocked out by the killer, and the guy pours, at first I thought he was pouring gasoline on him, but maybe it was just water, but maybe it was, I don't know. Basically pours this stuff on the son to kind of like freeze him, because it's winter, by the way, in this film. And so he's like stuck on the ground, covered in whatever, like freezing to death. Guy goes in, like tortures the mom, basically, like tags her to a chair, like beats her, breaks her fingers, all the stuff. And then the son finally gets up, gains consciousness, gets up, goes in, tries to like rescue his mom, and she can't really move because she's all fucked up, and so he goes to try to like get a phone to like phone the police, which is always a stupid move in the horror films. I will say they did do good on like details, like the killer slashed the tires of the car, so obviously like they couldn't just go to the car and leave. He had no way to get out, and with the mom unable to walk, and he couldn't carry her, so good on details, like small details like that later on. But yeah, basically it has a unsatisfying ending where everybody dies. So and won't go into all of the details of that. I gotta say, I did like the ending. I know a lot of people are pissed about it, but I like the fact that it ended unsatisfying. I kind of like the fact that it made me angry. You know, the thing with home invasion films is there's usually some sort of revenge for the like antagonist, hero, whatever of the film, and you find out usually who or why these people are doing the things that they did, and that is not how this movie ends, which it's different, and I kind of like that. I will say, for me, the ending made sitting through all the boring stuff worth it. Up until kind of the last few minutes of this film, it is pretty boring, but then you get to that ending and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that that's how it ended. And to me, that kind of made it worth it. So, you know, just a warning, it is, you're kind of like, boring, but yeah, if you just watch all the way to the end, if you like to be kind of angered by a movie or even upset, then you might actually really enjoy this. But yeah, I like the fact that it made me mad. I like to feel something when I watch a film, and even if it's angry and upset with the ending, to me that just kind of it's kind of makes it a good ending. It took a twist and had a very, very different ending than you're used to in home invasion films. So I hope you guys liked this review. I know I rambled on. I always do. But if you guys did like this, please do give it a big old thumbs up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more horror related content. And I will be back later with another video.